on the occasion of his retirement from the United States Air Force after 20 years of honorable uniformed military service. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is the Commander, 628 Air Base Wing, Colonel Mark Green. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party. The singing of the national anthem by Senior Master Sergeant Retired Stacy Cole, and the invocation provided virtually by Master Sergeant Retired Kevin Cook.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave, the brave.
Dear God, we thank you for allowing us to celebrate your son, James. He has dedicated 20 years to serving his country. You have given him the authority and the ability to lead men and women without hesitation nor delay. You have given him the strength to do what is right and to make decisions based on the needs of the people as well as the community. You have created a leader with a pure heart who is not afraid to lead by the principles set forth according to his faith. He has been a transparent leader, and his ability to put the needs of the people before his own has catapulted him to become the man, the leader, the father, the husband, and the airman you call James. From day one, God, you have known him to be called commander. God, you and you alone have set James' path for greatness, and because of James' obedience, that path has left a legacy unlike no other. When he was afraid, you held his hand as well as his heart, and surrounded him with other leaders who believe. God, you said in Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. God, we thank you for guiding James throughout his life. You have given his life purpose, you have given his life hope, and you have given his life joy. He leads with passion and compassion, because James is a man you created, and his heart belongs to you. He believes in you and your ability to give him the answers to the question in which James asked. When he walked through the valley of the shadow of death, he feared no evil. When the world told him no, God, you said yes. God, you have created a leader with a Gideon spirit. James is a warrior with an unquenched appetite for wisdom. He has numbered his days as he continues to gain a heart of wisdom. God, you have delivered him from the hands of the fowler. You've covered him with the feathers, and you, God, have been and continue to be his shield and buckler. Although this chapter is closing for James, but in James' book of life, it is not the conclusion. God, you said, our latter days will be greater than our former, I pray you will continue to keep a hedge of protection around James and his family. You have redeemed James' life from destruction, and you will continue to restore his enemies. The weapon may form, but it will not prosper, because James has been declared a son of God, the Almighty. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you to Sergeant Cook for that invitation and to Stacy. That was an amazing rendition. Let's give her The seat in the front row, although vacant, is reserved in remembrance of Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's mother, Mary Ann Kerley, who's no longer with us, but here with us in spirit. In tribute to his mother, we ask for a moment of silence to honor the values bestowed upon her son and her unwavering love and support as he selflessly served his country. Thank you. Now, before we begin, we would like to introduce a couple of our distinguished civilian and military guests in attendance today. Please hold all applause until the guests have all been introduced. Yeah, you can sign. Thank you, sir. The commander, 628 Air Base Wing, Colonel Mark Green and his wife, Amy. The Vice Wing Commander, 305th Air Mobility Wing, Colonel Nicholas Leonelli. Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's sons, Jack and Aiden. Joining us virtually, we have Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's aunt, Elizabeth Murphy, and her daughters, Katie and Aaron. His uncle, Joseph Casper, and his children, Joanna and John. With us here today, Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's friends, Darren and Susan Millam. His friend, Dr. Kristen Sirott, and her children, Anna and Nathaniel. His friends, Carlo and Jackie Chinozi, and their children, Joe, Sal, Carlo Jr., and Isabella. Finally, we'd like to welcome all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, friends of Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's, and member of Team JBMDL who have taken the time to share this special occasion. Thank you for joining us. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce Colonel Mark Green.
This is kind of surreal being back here in the CMOP. Doing a few briefings here, attended a few briefings here, taking some ASEP quizzes here. So I was talking with folks beforehand, or nephews, I've traveled twice in my current job in the past year, and both times I've been back to New Jersey. So I've been gone for a year and back twice, and nowhere else in AMC in the last year. So it's great to be back there. And first, thank you, Jim. As we talked, I was thrilled when you asked me to officiate today. Last time I was on stage with you was about 18 months ago-ish for the change of command. That's the guy on to gentleman there. I think things are still going in the right direction, so that's good enough. There you go. Amy, Isabel, and I are just happy to be here to celebrate this opportunity today with you, Jack, Aiden, and all your friends and family, both here and those who have dialed in from afar. Times of COVID, I think these events have a whole new meaning to them. I think before, sometimes they were taken just as standard measure, but it's wonderful to see so many teeth and smiling faces and crossing. I joke that I'm an amateur dentist at times now because I'm used to seeing masks so often, but it's great to see everybody. Jack and Aiden, I can't begin to explain what it means to your dad for you all to be here today, but I'm sure he's already done that multiple times, so I won't elaborate further. But to give you an idea of how respected and appreciated your dad is, Captain Maxwell here drove all the way from St. Louis just to narrate the ceremony. I have never seen a narrator drive 13 hours?
14.
14 hours. Narrator retirement ceremony, regardless of someone's rank. So that's how much your dad's appreciated. So, I'd like to also thank everyone who had a part in putting this ceremony together, from the honor guard to the project officers to Stacy's rendition of the national anthem was incredible. Many hands make light work, and there's still more to follow with teardown of all electronic equipment, photography. Thanks, Sergeant Deckers. It's great to see you again. I know Colonel Kerley is incredibly thankful, so thank you all for making the time to make this a memorable ceremony for him. And speaking of grateful, we owe a special thanks to Kevin for that invitation. And I'll leave it simply by saying to Kevin, Chief, Zaria, and the entire Cook family, most of whom we had a chance to meet at Chief's promotion, we love you, and our prayers are with you all. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to Jim's many friends and families again, both those who happen to be here today. It's quite the long list, which is awesome. And I know the many more that wish they could be here that are dialed in watching, including some of their counterparts from command. It's great to have everybody here. Colonel Leonelli, thanks for being here today. Polk, John, Vanders, former friends, colleagues, the Inspector General's office, the historian. It's great to see everybody here today. So many good faces, great people. And more importantly, the airmen of the Can-Do Wing who were able to make it. Thanks for coming out to support Jim today on this big day. There are several ways I could approach the next few minutes. I could start with a joke, but Isabella will tell you, I have her dad jokes. And they're not very good, so I won't do that. I can embellish on a story about Jim. The rule is 10% has to be true. But no one ever say. I won't do that. I won't do that either. I also won't run through Jim's career assignment by assignment or report by report. Instead, kind of like the change of command, I'll try to highlight some qualities, 5 in particular, that I think characterize you as an officer and a leader, but more importantly, as a man, as a father. And hopefully they give you a glimpse as to who Jim Kerley is, not Lieutenant Colonel Kerley, but soon to be Lieutenant Colonel Kerley. Jack and Aiden, if you hear only one run-on sentence, and there are plenty, I promise, remember this: your dad is humble, your dad is universally respected and loved by those he served with, and your dad made a difference in the lives of others, many of whom are here today, but many more are not. In short, your dad did amazing things in the Air Force. Remember that. To that point, before I talk about Jim the person, I would like to place his career in some context. I am going to embarrass him a little bit, partly because I can, but really because I know he would never do this, which is all my reason to do it. Okay, so I'm going to bore you with some numbers. I apologize in advance. As a simple backdrop, Jim enlisted as an aircraft mechanic when he was very young. Not as young now. He would go on to commission and set the pace, though, for what it means to excel as an officer. So here are just some of Jim's bottom lines in his performance reports. Okay, the simple ones. 1 of 22 wing majors. Number 2 of 8 squadron commanders in the wing. Number 1 of 44 squadron officers. Number 1 of 88 squadron officers. And number 1 of 8 operations officers in the wing. Okay, those are the easy ones. Number 1 of 20 wing lieutenant colonels. Twice he was number 1 of 706 company grade officers from 3-star. He was 1 of 191 joint, so all the services, 05s, lieutenant colonel counterparts, from the commander of United States Northern. That was a 4-star admiral. And then the 4-star general that came in after the admiral said he was number 1 of 194 joint 05s. And I could go on, there's many more in this record. But I'll stop there because the numbers kind of run together a bit. I know the numbers aren't easy to speak through with clarity. For Jack and Aiden, I do want to, for those who may not be familiar with it, what that means in the room, I'll summarize it by simply saying very few careers in the Air Force are like your dad's. Your dad's performance record is almost unmatched. That's how special your dad was as an officer. Some of you might say it's as memorable as watching friends. Here's the first one. Celebrate their wedding with a Star Wars ceremony. Sorry, if you were there, it was incredible. A bit of an inside joke. But I digress. Jim was a distinguished graduate and the outstanding contributor from Squadron Officer School. Distinguished graduate from C-17 Initial Qualification Training. He earned the Leadership Award at Pilot Training. He was the Field Grade Officer of the Year for the United States Northern Command. And I won't even bother with all the quarterly awards because, believe me, there are too many to go through in one speech. And finally, Jim was selected to his current rank 2 years ahead of his peers, which is about a 3% cut. To give you an idea of where Jim Kerley fits in with his counterparts in the Air Force. Yet as impressive, truly impressive as that was, They were not the accomplishments that Jim mentioned when I asked him what he remembered most from his time in uniform. Instead, by the way, 24 years. Instead, as you might have guessed, Jim focused on the less heralded events and accomplishments, and mainly team success were his things he focused on, which, when you know Jim, that's not going to surprise anybody. And that brings me to my first quality I think describes Jim Kerley. Jim attacks success. Kind of a weird one, huh? Okay, I'll explain. So Jim sees the result and he makes it happen, regardless of the odds. That's how a mobility pilot succeeds as an F-16 flight test director or division chief. I don't know how that happens, how that match even happens, but kind of bizarre and interesting. So without getting too detailed, Jim inherited a broken program with frayed relationships with a program office at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the developmental test experts at Edwards, and the operational test team at Nellis did not trust each other. And now the fighter community had to work with a mobility officer to do. It usually goes well. Still, Jim was undeterred. Did I mention that shortly after inheriting the mess, an urgent operational requirement was dropped on his desk? Namely, communication capabilities on a version of the F-16 were not adequate to support our joint terminal air controller teams. For those who are unfamiliar, JTACs serve on the front lines. They're always in danger and often isolated from reinforcements. An aircraft overhead might be their only source of support. Because of Jim, the multi-year process was completed in less than 6 months, and the new capability was fielded, tested, and employed in the fight against insurgents and terrorists, and no doubt saved lives. Second, Jim is a team builder and a tough negotiator. Okay, so don't confuse his ability to build teams with being a pushover. Right? Jim's nice guy. Jim Kerley is no pushover. Indeed, his commander counterparts brought up the quote, power move, when I asked for their inputs. I had no idea what they were talking about. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I do,
okay, nice.
unfortunately.
Scott, Jane, JB, and John are more than happy to explain and include some memes that I won't share with the audience as part of their explanation process. Now, I've already mentioned that Jim understands that building bridges must be part of solving any kind of difficult problem set. His time as the flight test division chief has a unique example of his innate talent to do so. Yet those bridges must also be defended. Hence Jim's power move. Now, I suggest Jim and his counterpart commanders were a strong-willed, opinionated group would be a gross understatement. I think Bill could probably support me on that one. Still, they'd always found ways to resolve disputes and disagreements without asking me to adjudicate. To be honest, I always wondered how that happened, but I never thought it prudent to ask. I found out, with a volunteer, that Jim would invite the group to his office to resolve any impasse or disagreement that might be at hand. They would all arrive, and without fail, someone from Jim's staff would interrupt. Jim would have to step out on some urgent issue to solve while they just waited and waited and waited. Now, the OSS is a big squad and it's busy, but conveniently this always happened whenever the commanders all went to his office. Finally, Jim would return, thank them for attending, and set the terms of the negotiation. So, again, nice guy, not a pushover. That brings me to Jim's next quality. He builds success one relationship at a time. Jim Kerley is genuine to the core. We all know that. He treats everyone with compassion and respect. As a pilot, he'll tell you his favorite moments when he was an instructor. He loved to help aspiring and sometimes struggling pilots, especially those who wanted to be great. And there are many instructors in the room, or used to be instructors in the room, and you know exactly what we're talking about. I even had a chance to fly with Jim myself on a couple of occasions and got to witness his interactions with lieutenants and young captains, and even older captains and majors who may be instructors themselves or even evaluators as they struggled, because we all struggle at times. And Jim was right there by their side every time, encouraging them and helping them figure out whatever might be going amiss. That approach was also why he was selected to deploy as Squadron Operations Officer with the A-16 Expeditionary Aerial Squadron as a newly pinned on major, which is rare. Very rare. Despite having no airdrop background, He was chosen to build a team largely consisting of airdrop crews with more experience than him in the aircraft, and prepared the squadron for deployment to support operations in Afghanistan. That success, which included multiple ammunition resupply drops in Afghanistan, foreshadowed the success he would have as squadron commander of Iraq. The fourth quality that defines Jim as an officer and as a person is simple. He strives to get the entire team to the finish line, not himself or just certain individuals. Now, this seems like a simple trait, but anyone who's been around team building for a long time or in the military knows that that's an uncommon thing. As a squadron commander, he was constantly, in my ear, touting the accomplishments of others. And I don't just mean the airmen of the OSS, though there's plenty of that. He would also highlight the great things his counterparts would do. Indeed, that was the second part of the power move you guys never saw. So he would come to the office, set the terms of negotiation, and then come grab me and talk about what you all were doing to get things done. And it was never about him. That was the true power move. And to the credit of the other commanders, they did exactly the same thing. And I think that's why we love everyone so well. Still, Jim will tell you that being part of the OSS, first as the operations officer and later as the commander, was the high point of his professional career. And the pinnacle moment for him came when Colonel Breeden notified him the squadron earned OSS of the Year honors for the entire command. Now, for those who might not be familiar with the award, it means that the 300-plus airmen, sailors, and civilians of the OSS, under Jim's command and supported by great leaders like Chief Cook and Lieutenant Colonel Odell, performed the best among 12 similar squadrons across the entirety of Irma Border. Now, I won't pick on Jim again for the awkward dance that ensued.
It was awkward.
It was. But like the Star Wars wedding ceremony, it's etched in my memory forever. You got pictures of both are hard to find. That brings me to my last quality, though this quality might be considered the cumulative result of the others. Jim always rises to the occasion. He makes the right choice where others make straight. Having earned the opportunity to attend War College, an important milestone for officers, and even after being selected for promotion to the rank of colonel, and a future that certainly would have afforded him the opportunity to command again, I'm humbled to stand here with Jim as he transitions to civilian life. By deciding to retire and move further advancement in our Air Force, Jim once again placed service before self. He placed fatherhood, what's best for Jack and Aiden, ahead of ambition, ahead of certain accolades in uniform. Indeed, I'll venture to say that today, this moment, will be my favorite memory of Jim in uniform. Not because you're taking it off, because this moment captures who you are. Until this end, till today, his service to our nation, to his friends, and to his family was about others, elevating, encouraging, and inspiring others. Because again, Jim's career path as an officer began as a young enlisted aircraft lieutenant. He even deployed as a young airman to help enforce the no-fly zones over Saddam Hussein's Iraq. Like the calculator Yet to this day, he credits the lieutenant for helping him realize his dream of commissioning as an officer. Jim vowed then to pay it forward in every instance. He did just that. You always put the needs of your airmen ahead of your own. You set an example for others to emulate. And you earn the respect and gratitude of subordinates, peers, and higher-ranking officers alike. Your military career was a success by any measure, and I am deeply grateful to have had the opportunity to play even the smallest part in recognizing your impact on our Air Force and the protection of the constitutional freedoms that we all too often take for granted. Now Jim moves forward with an exciting future in Colorado, alongside Jack and Aiden, on a professional path with a terrific employer, and new colleagues who will no doubt encourage and inspire. Jim, thank you for this opportunity, and more importantly, thank you for your friendship. Well done.
Thank you, Colonel Breeden. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Meritorious Service Medal. Attention to orders. This is to certify that the Meritorious Service Medal has been awarded to Lieutenant Colonel James G. Kerley for meritorious service from 11 January 2020 to 31 May 2021. Lt Col James G. Kerley distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Director of Staff, 305th Air Mobility Wing, Joint Base McGuire-Dix, Lakehurst, New Jersey. During this period, Lt Col Kerley expertly led 13 staff agencies of the Can-Do Wing, which provided steadfast support to over 2,300 active duty and civilian personnel. Responding to the impacts of the global pandemic of coronavirus disease, he quickly developed a plan to care for the men and women of the wing and maintain continuity of operations. Colonel Kerley and his team created a benchmark case and quarantine reporting system and quickly innovated technical solutions to maximize telework options. Selected as a Joint Base Crisis Action Team Director, his aptitude for collaboration enabled the Joint Base's synchronized support to United States Northern Command in response to the national emergency. Under his steadfast leadership, the team optimized the installation's reception, staging, onward movement, and integration of 3,300 healthcare and support personnel, as well as 1,900 tons of equipment and supplies in response to pandemic relief operations in New York and New Jersey. Finally, Colonel Kerley's exemplary ability and diligence were instrumental in the staff's focus on compliance, culminating in the overall effective rating during the Wing's unit effectiveness inspection. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Kerley culminate a distinguished career in the service of his country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the presentation of the retirement order.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. By order of the Secretary of the Air Force, Special Order Number AC 001388, effective 31 May 2021, Lt Col James Kerley is relieved from active duty, 305th Air Mobility Wing, Joint Base McGuire-Dix, Lakehurst, retired effective 1 June 2021 in the grade of Lieutenant Colonel, and is hereby directed to proceed to his home of selection.
Can I quote? It feels weird.
In honor of Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's retirement, we will now present him with a certificate of retirement. The certificate of retirement reads, Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who wish to see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Lt Col James G. Kerley, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of June 2021. Signed, Colonel Scott M. Wiederholt, 305th Air Mobility Wing, and General Charles Q. Brown, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel Kerley has also received a certificate of appreciation from the 19th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Joanne S. Bass. It reads, I am proud to join your friends and family in congratulating you on your retirement from the United States Air Force. The achievements and contributions you have made throughout your career are indicative of the core values of our great service. Your retirement is well-deserved, but your selfless contributions will be sorely missed. On behalf of all airmen, thank you for your faithful and devoted service to our nation. As this chapter in your life closes, a new one begins. I hope the years ahead are filled with more great memories and continued success. Signed, Joanne S. Bass, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. Every retiree also receives a special retirement pin as a memento of their active duty service. On occasions the retiree elects to wear the uniform, they will
Yours. When I was at Charleston, I was flying in Charleston, and I was a very young C-17 pilot, and I was really nervous about a check ride. It was one of the fairly early ones that I was doing. I was nervous about the check ride, and Jack knew, and he was really young, and he sort of knew that I was anxious, I was studying, and he came over to me as I was studying. It was in the morning, I think, at breakfast, and he gave me this little donut, and it was from one of those little play sets that was upstairs in the playroom. And I've carried this donut all over the world for basically the last 13 years, you know, and it has helped me because I did great on that check ride, fortunately, and I've carried it on every subsequent check ride and all around the world. This has been on top of Mount Rainier, but I want you to have it back, and I want you to keep it because this means a lot to me, and I want you to know how much that means. Yeah. Love you. Oh, and one more. Come on back, guys. We'll just do it really quick. So these are the little certification or certificates of appreciation for these boys. And like Stephanie said, like you know, you guys really are a part of this service. So let's do a really quick picture. Oh wait. All right. Yeah, you guys are.
Thank you, Jackie. Oh, one more thing.
Like,
At this time, Colonel Leonelli, 305th Air Mobility Wing Vice Commander, would like to say a few words on behalf of the 305th Air Mobility Wing staff and wing staff agencies. Words yours, sir.
So I kind of feel horrible standing up here. So I remember Jim and John's change of command, and we knew Jim was coming up to the wing to be the director of staff. And he was supposed to put it in cruise control and move into the middle wing. And then this thing called COVID-19 happened. And without blinking, next thing I knew, Jim was in the left lane thinking he was on the Autobahn. And so everything Colonel Green talked about in the, as far as Jim goes, in the middle are all absolutely 90%, at least, 90% true. He did it without hesitation, and I don't know that the majority of the 2,300 men and women of the 305th Air Mobility Wing understand what Jim did for the wing. But being in the same foxhole with him, there is no other person I'd rather be in a foxhole. So, on behalf of Colonel Weaverholt and the team,
that is awesome.
And then now, if I can get Colonel Retired Mike Paul Demas and Colonel Green to come up. You can stand right here. Exactly.
I just told them what to do.
So everybody says it's one way at the top. I will tell you, it's quite the opposite. There are times, yes, where it is lonely, but there is a pact that is there that is stronger than ever. As a colonel, I've made as strong a friend as I have from my time as a lieutenant. Unfortunately, we have to call and notify you via teleconference. So, in lieu of that, I've gotten all the women in here know what this is. all the men in here know what this is. So, as part of that pact, even though you didn't get a pin or rank on, and that's why I brought Mark and Coke up. So, on behalf of Colonel Weaverholt and the wing, we want you to have your set of birds. So. They're really not.
Thank you, Colonel Leonelli. Well, I guess it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the Air Force's newest retiree, Lt Col James G. Kerley, United States Air Force, retired.
Catch my breath for just a second. Sorry. I'm starting with the O's, the U's already. Yeah, there's one. Are you ready to count? One. Thank you all very much for being here. I have put some thought into what I was going to say, and I have some remarks, but it's admittedly very surreal to be here right now. As I was remarking to Colonel Green and several others when we sort of walked in, is I've sat in almost every seat, metaphorically, in this sort of a circumstance. I've been the officiating officer, which is really a fantastic opportunity. I've been, as an airman, I was a proffer. I was a narrator. Steph, thank you so much. And I've been in your seats, but I've not obviously ever done this, and this is really weird. But it's very humbling and challenging to hear people talk about your career in the way you did, but your words were very wonderful. Thank you very much. And I really do appreciate, if nothing else, appreciate that you all are here today. For Jack and Aiden and my friends and family, I was hesitant to do one of these, as some of you might know, but I'm really glad that we did, and it means a tremendous amount that you guys are here. So I really do thank you for that. Sir, I'm going to try to hit the big pieces, but thank you for amazingly. I'm humbled by the words and everything that you said. Thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for making a really special occasion for Jack and Aiden, for my friends and family. I knew when I asked Colonel Green at the Air Force Ball, and I was sort of still waffling on whether I was going to retire. This is a while back, but I knew that I wanted him to be here with me, and I couldn't be proud to be on the stage. And I'll just offer, I've had a lot of great bosses. Some of them are probably on Zoom, but it was absolutely my honor to be one of your commanders and work for you in your group. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my shortcomings and my attributes. And sort of you offered me an opportunity to do some reflection, which I've done even since this. And I definitely consider myself a better leader and a better man as a result of my time with you. And I hope to always call you lifelong friend. I really do appreciate it, both you and me. Colonel Anelli, thank you for coming. Thank you for really wonderful words that you said. I do agree. I love being in the foxhole with you on that. And you and Colonel Wiederholt gave me a lot of opportunity, a lot of rope to do what I need to do. And it was very humbling that you were willing to give me the chance to go transition as early as I was. So the transition, and now that I have a job, is because of you guys. I really do thank you for that. Really do. There's another one. Senior Master Sergeant Cole, she's gone now. She went to go visit with Chief Cook, but that was wonderful. She did a fantastic job, I thought, and really great to see Kevin's invocation. That meant a lot to me, as you guys know, because of my connection with the family. I'd like to pay some special thanks to the team who put this together. These, I will say, these don't happen just overnight. There's a lot of text. Where's Sergeant Rosario? Is she like walk out the door? She's not in here. She's walking around. But Sergeant Rosario, she jumped in. She's pacing. That's right. But Sergeant Vickers and Major Sigalski and Seniorman O'Neill and Captain Maxwell for driving in. It means so much that you guys did this. And there is a lot of work that goes behind this. So I appreciate you guys really for everything. And Chief Cook and Kevin, who couldn't make it, but Chief was one of the biggest advocates. The quick story was when I left command in the OSS, there was a little book of stuff that people had written to me as one of my going away gifts, and I was not going to have a ceremony, and I was going to just. I asked Chief in the hall. I said, "Hey, Chief, where's that little book?" And she said, "You can have it after your retirement ceremony." I said, "Okay, all right, fair enough." So. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time, I promise. And I go to these, and I hear a lot of people like me do sort of pass on wisdom. So I'm not going to pass on a lot of wisdom. You'll indulge maybe one. But my hope is to really just provide a little bit of gratitude and indicate my gratitude for you all and for my time in the Air Force. The one piece of wisdom that I will offer for your consideration that I've come to realize in this time is that I believe really truly that God places people in our lives with a purpose. There's another one. A lot of times, sometimes it doesn't happen when we think and in the manner we expect, but I believe God does it intentionally and largely in the right moment. For me, I don't always necessarily see it at the right time. In the rearview mirror, perhaps, you see why people enter and into your life and why they're in your lives. But I do believe that there's grand purpose in our relationships, and I value all my relationships with you. I can't really talk about each of you and everyone who's online, so I'm going to do just a little bit. But my view of relationships as it relates to that is, for me, sometimes people come into your life so that you can help them. You can scaffold them, you can teach them, you can help them grow, and very much often the purpose is for them to offer you the same. And I will offer that to whatever extent I tried to be an advocate or help to other people. I certainly was on the receiving end of a lot of guidance and mentoring. So there's too many of people for me to talk about, but I'll talk about a few very quickly in deference to your time, and so we can kind of have a little bit of time to go upstairs and chat. I want to pay special gratitude to Steve Campbell. So Lieutenant Colonel Steve Campbell, he's here today. He flew from Dallas. He flies for American, and he just took command of one of the flying squadrons at Charleston, one of the reserve commanders there. And I'll say Steve taught me how to be a really impassioned and very empathetic instructor. I've never flown with a better instructor. And so to whatever extent I'm a good instructor pilot, it's because of Steve Campbell. So thank you. Senior Master Sergeant Danita Samsel, I don't know if she's online or not. So Senior Samsel is an example of someone, she was one of my first senior NCOs. They tell you when you're a brand new lieutenant, cozy up to a senior NCO and have them teach you everything. So she was one of my first, and she taught me the value of real officer and senior NCO teamwork as it relates to leading a team. And I learned a lot from her. She retired out in Charleston. She's a fantastic leader. Senior Airman Court Romo, I'm going to mention him really quick. He was a Raven. For those of you who don't know what Ravens are, they fly with us on the C-17 and they carry weapons to protect the airplane and protect the whatever we're moving. I flew with him a lot. I won't belabor a lot of the conversations. He was with me in Chile, for those of you who know my story from Chile. And I flew with him a lot. That is one airman who is really selfless. And so I really appreciated my time with him. Captain Maxwell. So I've worked with Captain Maxwell for a long time, and she recently moved to Scott Air Force Base. I hope you spend a minute, if you don't know her, talking with her. For me, she's the picture of resilience and persistence and grit. This is someone who's really can face a very challenging situation and do amazing things. And so I'm very grateful. And Robin Swatrito, she was my boss at Northcom. She was a tough boss, but really a great boss. And she really taught me a lot of really fantastic things. So, what my point I think really is that I really have had a lot of wonderful people that have come into my life, and I've learned from them, and I hope I've done the same. This transition has really been amazing. The vast majority of the people in the United States, I don't think, really understand what the people who are wearing uniform here today actually do, and I've become more aware of that with respect to my job. Now that I'm working with this civilian company, I start to get a peek at what most of America sees, and I hope you all know that we get a lot of gratitude, you get a lot of thanks for your service when you're walking around, but what I've come to realize now is the vast majority of Americans really don't understand what you all do. You keep their families and their friends safe, and that's important. I know it's not overstated, and they don't necessarily know how you do it, but there is really amazing work that goes on in this wing and in all of your jobs. And so I appreciate you guys for your services, as trite as that might sound, because you hear it all the time. I thank you for keeping my family and my friends safe. And as it relates to that, I will say I've hit the jackpot with friends and family. I really have. I'm very, very blessed. I hope if you have a chance afterwards to meet some of the folks that are here. You're not going to meet a lot of folks that are online, my aunt and uncle and my other family. I hope you get a chance to meet the Chinosi family, Carlo and Jackie and their family, friends from Medford. This is a really, really fantastic family. You guys, I love you guys. And you guys have been there for me in challenging times and in wonderful times. And Carlo has been really an awesome rock. I've been able to talk to him about a lot of things, and I look up to you. And you guys are really wonderful. I thank you for being my family. Kristen, Anna, and Nathaniel, I'm really grateful that you guys are here. It means so much that I've been given the opportunity to be a part of your lives and you part of mine. I look forward to many, many more years of the same, and I love you guys, and I'm really proud that you guys are here today. It means a lot. So my family on Zoom, Aunt Betty and my uncle Joey, these are my mom's younger siblings, and although Mom couldn't be here, and I want them to know, and I want you all to know that I really, a lot of the things that Colonel Green said were hard to hear because but I credit my mom for that. My mom was a brilliant woman. She was a microbiology major. She got a master's degree in microbiology. And although I didn't necessarily inherit her intelligence, I did inherit some other qualities. She taught me about generosity and kindness and those sorts of things. And so I'm really grateful to her and grateful to my family for being online. Darren and Susan, I hope you guys get a chance to meet them as well. So Darren has been my friend and Susan for about 26 years. We've known each other a really long time. He's basically my best friend, basically my brother. He goes by Uncle Darren to my kids, and I'm Uncle Jim to his. Wonderful family, and it means a lot that you guys came today. I love you guys. I've looked up to you in a long time, Darren. So I appreciate much of what I've been able to do. It's because I've been able to lean on you and learn from you, and I appreciate it. I'm almost done. Jack and Aiden, you guys are truly the best things that have ever happened to me. I have had a wonderful career. It's been really wonderful. This is so weird, you guys. But I'm grateful, and I'm grateful that we have our time together. I'm grateful that we have a new path moving forward. And I love my partnership with you guys. I'm proud of you guys making you better every day. You guys are kind and compassionate and loving and smart, and I'm here to help you, okay? And so thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate it. So for all of you guys today, everyone online who's here, I'm very blessed to call you all family. I appreciate your friendship, and I hope that to whatever extent that you've been able to help me, I've been able to repay that. And if not, I hope to do that in the future. So come visit us in Colorado, and don't be a stranger. I appreciate you guys today. Thank
Why am I the only one getting up? Thank you, Colonel Kerley. The 305th Air Mobility Wing and the United States Air Force are proud of Lieutenant Colonel Kerley's service to our nation. We wish him and his family every success in their future endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the singing of the Air Force song. You guys, not me. And the departure of the official. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sky. Here they come, soon to meet our thunder. Have the boys giving the gun. Give her their gun! Down we dive, starting our flames from under. Off with one hell of a roll. We live in fame, we're down flame. Hey, nothing stop the U.S. Air Force. This concludes today's ceremony. Please join us upstairs at the 6th Airlift Squadron bullpen, where we'll have a reception. And you can congratulate Lieutenant Colonel Kerley and his sons on their fantastic career in the Air Force. Thank you all for attending.